So I was talking with a friend recently about why Kinnan sees play and why he's so strong despite his glaring weaknesses of not having any other colors. And it all boils down to the fact that Kinnan is essentially a turbo deck that is so resilient to literally all of its hate that you kind of just can do whatever you want. So, for example, Kinnan's a 2-drop. Now you can't play him off of fast mana like Jewel Lotus or stuff like that, but you can almost unilaterally get him out turn one super easily almost every game. So you play all of your mana rocks, Crypt, Vault, Mox, Kinnan. Next turn, all of your mana rocks tap for double now, activate Kinnan, get your first creature. Or play a Seedborn Muse and then just start churning through the deck. And at that point, it's kind of hard to like really deal with it unless you're playing against people who are very aware of how Kinnan works or how to deal with it. And so when you look at against how other people play Kinnan, a lot of them don't actually know how to slow it down except by just killing Kinnan. And that's kind of the issue, is that it's like, well, why would I kill Kinnan if they're just going to replay Kinnan again? But Kinnan's strength isn't Kinnan himself. It's the fact that literally everything lets him play him super fast and the deck can't stall. So if I were to like describe Kinnan as a deck, it is the perfect turbo deck for new cEDH players. I could stop the video here, but then where's the fun in that? Probably let's talk about it a bit more. So what are other things Kinnan's good at? Well, because Kinnan is green and blue, it's really good at protecting all of its win cons because its win cons are super compact. For example, Kinnan wins usually by Basalt Monolith loops of like playing everything and then drawing your entire deck out via Thrasios, Gretchen, Titch Willow, not Simone because she taps, but anything that lets you draw for super cheap, because Kinnan just gets it and puts it on the battlefield in a way you can't interact with unless you just stifle the effect. But the issue with stifling the effect is you have to know when they're gonna get it or hit it. You can't do it at the same time because it's all one continued effect. So that's one of the major reasons why Kinnan is so hard to disrupt, is because he plays on an axis that every cEDH player refuses to actually do anything about. Because I know a lot of people like to say cEDH is a very competitive mindset, but I still find myself in a lot of the games coming up against people who have not a casual mindset, but make casual mistakes. So, for example, let's say I play mass artifact removal to get rid of everybody else's artifacts, that being Vandal Blast. I overload a Vandal Blast or overload a Cyclonic Rift, but I don't win. A lot of people are going to look at that as like a essential analogous term to major land destruction without a win con. But here's the thing. The reason you want to run stuff like that is because a lot of these decks now are becoming more creature and slash utility focused, as opposed to these spells just carry the deck, with the exception of like obviously your ad nauseums, tainted pact, demonic consultations, tutor, and fierce, and like your forces and all the other stuff that's free. But for the most part, most of the stuff you're actually paying the mana for is mostly high value permanents. Mystic Remorse, Ristic Studies, Esper Sentinel, but Esper Sentinel's a creature, but he's really not a creature because you never swing with him. Unless you're in a Timna deck, then you do swing with them. But like, and your commanders, that's what you're paying your mana for on your turn, mostly. The rest of the time, you're ideally playing free stuff. Kinnan doesn't really need to do that because theoretically, almost everything in the deck is free because he makes so much mana that the cost is almost irrelevant. So how do you address playing against that in terms of dealing with Kinnan? Well, my solution has always been just always run a Vandal Blast or tutor for Vandal Blast the moment I see a Kinnan and he has 4 rocks out, because typically that'll stop him from like getting value, because then he has to play all of his creatures, and that's a lot slower. That slows the deck down more considerably more than just playing Kinnan or killing Kinnan. Now, the other solution, and this is my actual perfected solution, I just elk him. I turn him into a deer and say, you don't get him back. Have fun trying to get him back. That almost works infinitely better than getting rid of Kinnan or trying to always dig for a whatchamacallit, a counter or Vandal Blast, because the deck is so reliant on Kinnan, but at the same time it's not. In that Kinnan is always gonna almost always be on the field as soon as they get the mana for him, because they're always gonna have the mana for him. So it's just an inevitability unless they have a really bad starting hand. So the solution is you play around the fact that he needs his mana to survive. The issue with addressing Kinnan is that addressing Kinnan directly hurts all of the other cEDH decks unless you're specifically killing Kinnan. But then you run into the treadmill of, I have to keep killing Kinnan, so they can't cast him, but they're always playing more mana to cast him. So the solution is you destroy every support piece around him, but that hurts every other cEDH player at the table. So it's in this weird catch-22 of major land destruction in Castle. Do I address the Kinnan in that way in terms of making sure that the other players can't play the game, so they're kind of stuck? Or do I just do my part and just kill the Kinnan once and then make sure that they can't cast them the next time? But that's kind of the thing about Kinnan, and that's why he is such a strong presence in cEDH, is because he preys on the social contract of cEDH, where it's like, we're doing everything we can to win and not doing things that derail that. But you create this powerful powerhouse in Kinnan. And I know I said powerful twice, but that's to emphasize the fact that he is so strong because of the specifics of the social contract of cEDH. But that's all I'm pretty much going to say on the topic. I'm like kind of running out of stuff to talk about because ultimately no one's probably going to actually take any of this advice to heart, mostly due to the fact that it's like, Kinnan's not that bad. He's not number one. He's not Blue Farm. And I have a lot to say about Blue Farm. I think it's a terrible deck, but that's another story for another video. And I know I'm going to get flamed for that, so I have to mentally prepare for that.